Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast, hosted by Pastor Eric Lawson, where each episode is uniquely designed to help you live all out by bringing you practical leadership from a biblical perspective delivered in 10 minutes or less. So whether you're a business leader, serving in ministry, or simply looking to grow in your leadership, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into this week's topic, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and download the show notes at ericlawson.com/podcast. And while you're at it, feel free to share the content on social media. Now, let's join Pastor Eric for this week's conversation.
Welcome to another edition of the All Out Leadership Podcast. We are in M4 membership. Going to take one more podcast episode to talk about why membership matters, because it just seems that no matter how many times you say these things, there's just somebody who goes, huh? I don't need that. That's great for everybody else, but I don't need that. Somehow I'm the exception to needing to be part of a team. Now, there are people who are on a team. I'm going to talk to my staff right now. There are people who are on a team. You're in the team. You're wearing the team jersey, but you play as a Lone Ranger. That's not good either. I love what Michael Jordan said. He said, talent wins games, but teamwork wins championships. It doesn't matter how good you are by yourself, how talented you are, smart you are, you still have to play as a team, because we only win as a team. We lose as a team, we win as a team. Church and being in ministry is not golf. Golf, you can play alone. But this is like basketball. Like we're playing all zones. Actually, it's maybe a little bit more like football and basketball, all out there on the same field. We're getting knocked down. We're knocking each other down. There's opponents, defense, offense, fumbles. And when you're a team, you see the ball bouncing down the field. It's like you don't go, well, way to go. You go, I'm going to go get that fumble. And so we're part of a team. Now, there's two values, rewards that you'll experience in a team that you will not experience any other way. Number one, synergy. Synergy, the definition is the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. Meaning, when you take one and you take two and you put them together they're going to exceed two, and you're going to experience the power of a three or a four, because together they're going to exceed their individual parts. Geese, when they fly in their V formation, it's really cool. And to me, I just look at that and I just go, that's just one of the 17 billion things that defies evolution, right? How did geese figure out that if they fly in a V formation, they're going to experience synergy? Because geese flying together can travel 72% further than they can alone. Because when the geese are in that V formation, they actually create this with the geese in front of them are flapping their wings. It reduces the drag behind that other geese. And so the lead geese, who is kind of up there breaking wind, don't take it the wrong way, but up there breaking the wind, the resistance behind them is easier, and it continues on back. Now, when that lead goose gets tired, they'll drift all the way to the back, where the drag is the best, and it's the lightest, and it's the least work. Then the next goose moves up and takes the place, and they just keep rotating. How in the world did they figure that out? Unless God programmed them that way. I believe he did. But he put them that way to teach us some lessons. And so that is, in a group, when you're working with a team, you take your talent, you combine it with other people's talent, you put it together, it's going to produce more. One of the challenges we have as leaders, high capacity leaders, is the ability to do it alone. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And there are times I go, you know what, I can do a better job. But my job isn't just to get the job done. My job is to equip saints for the work of the ministry, another value we'll get into. And so there's just times I go, yeah, I could do it better. I could do it faster. I could do it more efficient. But there are times I'm working together with team, because it's about other people. It's about what we can do together, and it's about raising other leaders up. People go, well, man, Pastor, why don't you preach every single weekend? Well, first, I'd die. Secondly, that's actually not my job. Jesus sent out the 72. Jesus entrusted his ministry to the 12, and the church existed 2,000 years later because they raised up people to teach, to take the gospel. They raised up other pastors and other leaders. And so there are times I know that I am probably the strongest communicator on our team because I've had the opportunity to preach for 35 years. I'm the founding pastor of the church. And, oh, Pastor, you're my favorite, which actually makes me feel good. Thank you. Flatters me. But it's not about me and me preaching every single weekend because there are other young pastors and other communicators coming up that, yeah, they might not be me, but you know what? I wasn't me 20 years ago either. You wouldn't have liked my sermons very much 20 years ago, and thank God somebody endured it back then for us to get where we are. But just know that we're actually doing what we should be doing as a church, and that is we're allowing other people's gifts to emerge, other people to grow, and then ultimately we're going to experience some great synergy as we realize it's not about the individual, but it's about empowering others to win. Another thing that we get inside of team is safety. There is safety in numbers. The North American bison lives in the tundra, and when wolves go to attack, they're always looking for the weak one, the sick one, the little guy. But what the bisons do is they take those vulnerable bison and they put them in the middle of a circle, and then all the big, strong bison literally surround and make an impenetrable wall around the weakly ones, the weak ones. So the wolves can't get in there, and they'll fight to the death to defend them. That's what happens inside of church. That's the way our staff should be, and that is there are times we're all a little bit weak. We're all struggling. We're all going through something, and we need the strength of others to come around us and surround us. But man, if you're all alone and you're going through a crisis, you're going to get picked off by Satan, who seeks whom he may devour. And so there is just safety when you are in your team. Safety in your church, safety in your small group, as a staff. There's safety when you're connected, not attending work as a job, but you realize you're part of a team called Element or team ministry. You're going to find synergy and you're going to find safety. See you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the All Out Leadership Podcast. We hope you gained new biblical insight that challenged you to grow in your leadership. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would love your help in getting the content out farther. You can help by subscribing to the podcast at ericlawson.com/podcast and telling others about it. Next week, Pastor Eric will be back with another episode. So until then, we hope you have a great week being an all-out leader.